Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Is this working? No.
Okie dokie. With any luck, we should be live on YouTube. And apologies for those who tuned in at the right time. We simply weren't there due to technical difficulties. Everyone says that, right? And you don't believe them, right? It's a bloody fact. It was a technical difficulty.
It was indeed.
By my incompetence, of course.
Never.
They call it, no, they don't call it finger problem. They call it finger problem when I used to work in radio.
Fat fingers.
Truly, honestly, it was technical. Righto, welcome aboard. It's good to have you guys around, and it's good to have Ash as always. Mate, have you got anything pressing?
Not really. It looks like we got a bit of a risk-on day today. So we are looking for the longs, but can you hear me all right?
Makes me think I can't hear Ash, or Ash can't
Can you hear me now?
Let me just...
You hear me all right now?
I appear to be okay.
Okay, hold on.
Ash, I can't hear you. I can hear you minutes ago, but now I can't hear you.
No problem, mate.
That is weird. So this technical difficulty continues, guys. I'm just unable to monitor chat at the moment, but I'll get there in just a tick, I hope. So I really don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
How's that? Is that better?
Extremely frustrating.
Can't hear me, right?
And the technical difficulties continue. I'm just trying to fix this, guys. So bear with me for 2 seconds. Okay, apparently you guys can hear me, which is good. So I don't know where Ash is. He must have left on the first cab. I don't know. Anyway, I'll continue till he comes in, and it is now London open time. So let's go there and at least start this this breakout trade. All right, today's entries. Good morning, Ash. Lewis, this is Jeff talking. Can you hear me? That's interesting. Okay, both Ash and Jeff, and I can't hear Ash. Wow. Ash, can you just type in Skype if you can hear me, please? And if that's the case, I've got an issue. I'll set up this trade anyway whilst you're doing that, Ash, and we'll go from there. Right, you can hear me. All right, I've got an issue. So as soon as I've set this trade, I will hand over to you and see if I can fix the confounded problem. The range of today's candles, the last 3 candles prior to London session, is this is the high, this is the low, so not much difference to the candle. The entry is going to be 15 pips. The entry long, that is going to be 15 pips above the high here, which is going to be at 1.2820. So we'll set that up. 1.2820. Won't let me trade that on this account. So we'll go there. I think we can trade that much. Pending order, buy stop. 1.2820. Stop loss will be 10 under this bar, which is 1.2776. Let's call it 1.2766. And the other entry, which will be as short, will be the reverse of that. Okay, so that one's done. Let me do the short. And it will be a pending order also, this time a sell stop. And the entry level will be 2766 rather. And the stop loss will be 1.2820. Okay, let's put that in the market also. There we go. The entry long 1.2820 was, and that's also the stop for the short, which has an entry of 1.2766, and the stop loss is 1.2820. Rightio. I will bid you adieu for a sec and come back when I can actually hear something. So Ash, over to you. I'll stop sharing.
Great stuff, mate. Okay. All right. Well, let's have a look at this FTSE because it is on the move this morning. So we do want to get in. Now, we might be either a little bit late or a little bit early, depending on your perspective. What we want now is for it to come up to daily pivot, weekly pivot, come back down again, test this trend line, and then we'll look for the long. If that doesn't get up there first time of asking, then let's look for the daily pivot. Now, I don't think it's going to get down there. I think much more likely that we actually do probably see the weekly pivot first. And then start to retrace a little bit, but the longs look really good at this particular stage. Now let's have a quick look across the board and see what we've got. So S&P 500, oh, that's jammed right into that that monthly pivot. So that does suggest that there could be some resistance here, and maybe if this one does start to fade a little bit, then we get an opportunity to trade the FTSE 100 long. Dow Jones Industrials exactly the same when it comes down to the Dow Jones futures. And let's have a quick look at the Nasdaq as well. Nasdaq also on that monthly pivot. So there's a suggestion that there could be some weakness before we get any strength. Now, there is a meeting later on between the central banks. This is suggesting maybe coming down to around about the daily pivot. So a drop down in the American markets is at this particular stage suggested, but they are not live. So they're much more likely to follow what goes on with the FTSE at this stage. So we're really waiting to see if the FTSE can give us something of an entry. But it has been pretty volatile out there. So the short-term opportunities are there currently. Now, let's just see what we could do. Let's see what we could do. Why? Hold on one second. I'm going to get on YouTube just so I can see you guys as well. Where are we? Right, I'm coming up with you guys just so I can see the chat box and everything else. Here we go. Right, let's see. Great, so everybody can hear me. Good morning, Lewis. Good morning, Daniel. Good morning, Sanjay. That's great that you can hear me, and great you can see my screen. So let's have let's continue to have a quick look across around the grounds. We are looking for, as I say, longs in the FTSE. There is this trend line that it's going to either struggle to get through or burst through and come and potentially retest. So that would be a potential long. This would be a fantastic area to get in if it was to come down there. The expectation is that the central banks will probably do something. And if they were to do something, then that would probably boost the market further to the upside. Now let's just come out a little bit and have a look at some potential levels. There's this is currently resistance around about 67.40, so 40 pips above where we are now. Not too far. That looks like support down there. Let's check this on a daily. There's much more room for the upside, as we can see. 2 bars really that would suggest that we were to get a boost down here. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the boost happens today, but it does suggest that there is a boost coming up. Now, let me just tighten up this trend line because that looks pretty good against that particular point there. So 66.15 would look really good. That's going to be a hell of a dive to the downside. So by no means would I suggest that that's going to come down quite that far. On shorter term timeframes, the price is probably it's probably here, not too far down, you know, maybe another 20 pips down on shorter term timeframes, but you're going to be bashing your head up. I mean, there's still 45 pips up and yeah, 50 pips down. So the risk reward isn't really there. So I think we're going to have to wait for a lower band. Maybe, oh, great stuff. Maybe the thing we need to do is look for a dip into this point here, which is a whole 80 pips down before we look for the longs. And it could happen. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but you know, I was looking at the FTSE 100 yesterday. Now look at this. I don't usually use this this particular indicator, but it is pretty fascinating. This is my ATR, and let's do it over a period of yeah, I mean 200 periods is a pretty healthy one. But look at that. You know, we've gone all the way down here. We were looking at 16 pips, and you know, within an hour, and now we're up to near 38, 40 pips in an hour. That's what it's traveling from high to low. Now, if we come out of these ranges a little bit, look at the 4 hour. The 4 hour is now traveling 47 pips, where it was traveling more like 35. So a whole what's that, 20%, so maybe 30% rise. This is the really interesting one though, the dailies. Within a day it was moving 85 sorry, down here it was moving around about actually no, I don't want that on the ATR 200. Let's look at a shorter period on the ATR because that's a whole year. Let's just change this to, let's go for nearer 3 months. And we see 91 is popping right up to 90 on that one. I think we got this on a 14 though. I think this is where it gets really interesting. 76. So over the last 2 weeks, we've seen it pop down from 76, double the range. This is really what I want to look at, actually, the 14 period ATR. So huge volatility is suggested. So the market really is moving around, but we've got to be a bit careful because, and it does suggest that, you know, if it does manage to catch a bid here, that it's probably going to explode to the upside. And if it's 140 pip range right now, I mean, we've already been down 100 this morning already, and we're back to pretty much square one again. Question is, can it break through here? But if it does, and I wouldn't be looking for it too early, I suppose, but could well and truly be wrong on that one. And if it does pop up, then I suspect we're probably looking for the next level of resistance, which is, you know, somewhere around about the 68, maybe the 6900 level on the FTSE, and we're currently around about 67. So it could travel 200 pips without too many problems. So we do want to go long. The barometers are also suggesting that we want to go long. All the top 20 stocks are currently in positive territory, every single one of them. So the FTSE 100 does have huge positivity today. And you know, I'm always reticent just to go long without any kind of pullback. However, with a day like today, it might be the safest option. So I'm just looking to see whether we can get a pullback. But if we don't, then we might well just have to get on board with this one. Now, we do want to see probably at least a run to the weekly pivot, and then maybe come back out again. But you can see it's already popping up now. So it's got at least 30-40 pips to go before we're likely to see that pullback. Yes, there's some resistance up here which could cage it, and we're right on top of those levels now, and hopefully that resistance will at least provide us down to this level. But I don't know, I'm hoping you're getting the idea that my tone is just saying we need to get in It's just a question of when and how. But with stops, we can put them fairly loose because the anticipation certainly would be that it's going to continue to the upside. So we can put stops fairly loose. We can go in at 1%. We can go in at a little bit higher range, but leave those, but put those stops nice and wide. And then if the market does burst through levels, it's got to get through this one right now. But if it goes through that level, then try and get those stops just a bit tighter. Move things up a little bit, but if we can get a decent pullback, then stops can go to break even as soon as possible. So let's be a little bit patient here, but not so patient that we end up procrastinating and not getting in, because I think the market's probably due for a pretty good move, and it looks fairly good today as well. It looks like every indication so far is suggesting some further move to the upside. So that is where we're at now. Are you back in with us? Are you, Jeff? No, I know Jeff could hear us. I'm not sure if he's able to get back in right now. Are you out there, mate? I can't hear you if you can hear us. Okay, got no Jeff at this stage. I am going to just see if he's actually in the room. Oh, no, he's not there. Okay. All right. Let me just see if. Whoops. That was Jeff. He can hear, but I don't understand how, because he's not in the room. Right, might end up being one of those days today. Now, I'm suspecting you guys should be looking for opportunities today. So the question is, what have you got? Now, I'm not, I look at currencies, but I'm not really a currency trader, as you know. Let's see if we can invite Jeff in. So, let's move him over here. Ah, so Jeff? Oh, I think he's got some. Yeah, you're in, mate. You're in. I can see you. Is that you, buddy? Okay, I think we have got Jeff, but I'm not 100% sure on if he's still got some issues going on there. Okay, market is still continuing to push to the upside without an opportunity to get in. So we're a little bit caught out here, which is a shame, because it looks pretty strong. Now, will it give us any opportunity whatsoever? I'm not so sure. So what are you guys looking at? Because you should be, on a day like today, you should have opportunities. We can have a quick look across the board for sure. Gosh, a lot of clunking around. Dollar yen is now this pound. Jeff will be setting the pound trade fairly soon. I suspect the pound is probably a selling opportunity. It looks like the euro pound could be a selling opportunity as well. Interestingly, we do have an announcement from Boris Johnson out in about an hour and 15 minutes, so that could well put the brakes on either the euro or the pound. I'm not quite sure. No, I'm not sure what's going on with Jeff, because there's terrible noise in the background. 1 second. Right, I've just messaged Jeff. We need to get rid of that noise more than anything else. Okay. Where are we at with that? Oh gosh. Okay. Okay, this noise is going to be difficult to deal with. Yeah, we do seem to have lost Jeff. I've got. Can you guys hear that noise in the background? There's something going on. I'm not sure whether he's battling with it or something, but he has had a few internet and technical issues that have arisen. So they do seem to be making things a little bit worse. Right now, yes. So what have you got, guys? What have you got? This has got to be a day that you guys, particularly if you're looking at short-term horizons, this has got to be a day that you guys are looking for opportunities. Now, I am looking for opportunities here, but nothing has arisen as yet because I'm not getting my pullback. So as soon as I get my pullback, I am trying to get in, and it looks to me like the price could be around about this 67.10 level, currently at 67.60. Let's just double check what's going on with the S&P at this particular time. That looks like it's just edging itself to the upside. Dow Jones Industrials doing the same thing. The dollar yen is struggling a little bit. Do you see some fairly decent strength in dollar yen? But look at this lovely W bottoming pattern there on dollar yen. So that suggests some upside in that particular regard as well. Where's that? Dollar yen. Yeah, look at this. Now, if you guys don't know this pattern, nice clean W bottoming pattern there. It's come down to the next one, and that would suggest some further upside. So people will trade on a neckline break, or if you can get in somewhere around here, this is a good place to get into. Probably you want to see it above that that daily pivot. That would be the ideal scenario, just to see it above that point. And if it can get just above there and pop back and give you an entry, looks like a decent pattern. Measured move on this, you basically measure the low of the W to the high of the W, and then move yourself up to give you a measured move. It's going to be somewhere around about this level by the looks of things. So maybe 109.70, 109.80 by the looks of things for the measured move on that. But that looks pretty good. So dollar yen looks like a buying opportunity. The market looks like it's risk on today, which is causing me a bit of an issue because I want to get in, but I'm finding it a struggle. With the equities taken off currently without me. Dollar yen looks like it could be another potential opportunity if it is risk on. What do we got with a pound dollar? Pound dollar, looks like a difficult trade to me. WTI. Now, I did hear some whispers that WTI. We got some OPEC meetings happening that could help this particular instrument out as well, which is also going to boost up global markets. So it looks like a global run to the upside in risk on assets and risk on instruments is probably the best port of call here. So looking at WTI for some further upside. Got to get through the monthly pivot, but if it does, then that's got some room to travel as well. Aussie dollar, let's check that one because that's also a risk on currency. Not the cleanest, so I wouldn't want to trade that. I was looking at Aussie yen. Yes. Ah, there you are. Yes.
Oh God, strike a lot.
How are we doing? You all right?
No, yeah, mate, having a wonderful time.
Oh, mate.
My apologies for this ridiculous scenario.
That's okay, mate. You're all good. You're all good. Yeah, just having a look around the grounds, mate. Just seeing because it's a risk on day for sure that we've got in the offing right now. I can't get on board, unfortunately. It's just not giving me the opportunity right now. But I do want to get on board if I possibly can. But we are looking at a risk on day today.
Yeah, it's a little interesting. The currencies are poised, if you like, but patience is definitely something that we're going to need to have here. For me, anyway. I'm not sure about you. I guess from what you're saying, it'll probably be the same.
Yes, absolutely. We're just looking for a pullback, really, and I think the pullback will probably be shallow. I'm going to have to be fairly nimble, but I am looking for a pullback. I mean, I say shallow, it's still going to be a 50 pip pullback because of the huge moves that we've had in recent volatility, really. But
yes.
but I am looking for a pullback. I don't think I can just trade at this level. It looks to me like we are going to be fairly close to weekly pivot before too long, if we're not already on top of it. So I need to come back down to here, which is 50 pips, and then I can trade this. But otherwise, I'm just a little bit on the sidelines, slightly redundant until I get my my decent area to pull back to. As I say, I think it'll be shallow, and I think buy signals will probably be fairly weak today. And it's one of those things that I will just get on board. If I get my level, I will just get on board. I probably won't be messing about because barometers are suggesting further upside.
Did we miss the price on the H1 there on that bar, 3 bars back?
Do you know what? I was in that. No. That was I was in that, but I actually closed the position as it popped up to this level here.
Okay.
But now it's because my idea was always that if it popped through, that I should be able to get the same sort of price back in again. And just because we have been struggling to get through, I thought it might be the safest option. But actually, I could have left that run and maybe. Well, no, you can't. I couldn't have really added, but I could have let that run and maybe move stops to break even instead. But I'm still looking for the same price that I got out at. But I wasn't in. That was at 6 o'clock this morning. I was in from yesterday, but as I say, I took profit. But that would have been a good entry for sure. But yeah, let's say we get another one, mate. As I say, it's pretty strong this morning. Looks like the weekly pivot has to be the first port of call to hold it up. If it doesn't hold up there, then it's going to be all the way up to the monthly pivot, which is a fair way up. So I am keen right now, but also got to be professional and just wait for this one to come back a little bit, because it will. I'm not sure when, if it will happen today. It might be fairly parabolic. The move to the downside was so aggressive that you just never know.
Relief rally, or are we done?
I think it is a relief rally, but I think what's going on is that we've got central banks meeting later today to discuss policy that they can implement to support the market, and I think traders are quite buoyed by that.
How interesting is that? I don't see how they can possibly come to a consensus on, for instance, okay, let's all cut by 50 basis points. That might be okay for the States. It's not going to be so flash for the Eurozone. It's not going to be so flash for the yen. That's not going to happen. So, how do they control this? Do they then say, all right, well, let's talk QE?
Yes, I was going to say
Mark 4.
Yeah. I think that I would. My suspicion would be that would be the first thing on the table, because, as you say, that they can't really do a
uniform cut.
They can't really do a uniform cut because it does probably hamper certain regions more than the US, which isn't any good. But yes, I think uniform, maybe QE might be an option, or might be the only option that they have available. Or maybe they don't come up with an agreement. I mean, certainly, off the back of the fact that they're meeting, the market likes it, and they are, as far as I'm aware, the major players and probably the most amicable countries and most amicable regions to come up with something. But that doesn't mean that they will. So there's a possibility that people get kind of excited about the fact that they're meeting up, but in actual fact, we don't really get what we need from the back of it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it's. I'm kind of with you, mate. It's one of those that, yes, they will discuss tools, but what do they really have to do? As a big unity. And if they can't come up with something, then maybe we pop up today, and by the end of the phone call, we realize that they don't really have a coordinated plan, and then the market starts to come down again. And I think that's going to be the way it is. I think that any hint of good news, the market is going to pop up. And as soon as we get, some solid data out of wherever with bad news, then the market's going to come down. But what I thought was quite interesting is that some of those Chinese numbers in manufacturing and the Caixin numbers were awful. They were absolutely diabolical. But the market held up, and the reason I think it did hold up is because of the expectation that central banks will save the rally. But you do have to be questioning what they have left in their toolbox, and we'll only know. Well, this is the way that I would perceive it. My perception is the central banks announce that they're going to do something, the market buys up. After it's bought up, then we wait for the data. If the data doesn't suggest that what they have done has worked, then I think the market comes down again fairly hard. But right now, you know, for a relief rally, I guess we could certainly call it that, or certainly for a move to the upside, I think that is highly likely. Because of anticipation that things are going to get bailed out. But you know, the action's one thing, but does action actually turn into any significant effect is the other, and I think that's what we end up waiting on.
And we're in a buy the rumor, sell the fact potential here as well.
I think we probably are. I think we probably are. Ah, thanks. Is that Jose? Currently shorting the pound CAD. Yeah, I was saying to the guys, you know, really, this is a market of opportunity. So we should really be discussing, you know, certain charts that they're looking at. So the pound CAD. Let's have a really good look at this. Now, I like the fact that you said considering. Look at the pivots on this. Make sure that this is tidy. So I presume you're looking under the daily pivot, which is a good spot. Now let's just have a quick look at. Yeah, I like it. I really like this. I really like this. So if we think about, you know, this in kind of, you know, top-down kind of analysis. Let's have a look at it from the longer term perspective to start with. This is the monthly chart, fairly innocuous in many respects, and I guess in some respects quite difficult to read somewhat. But you know, even if this is an inverted head and shoulders look about it, there's still room to come down into that right shoulder. So that would suggest that there's some room for some downside. The weeklies are probably kind of rangy, and maybe the lower end of the range might be the first point to try and take some profit. I would suggest so somewhere around about 1.6950 would be an area that I'd be looking at to take my first point of profit. On the dailies is where we get a really clean and clearer picture, in my opinion. Now, the line might be there, it might be there, but either way, we have broken. Let's use this line because it's a lot cleaner. Either way, we've broken down this level here. We've taken out this low as well. So that's suggesting that that we do potentially have a decent trend, possibly starting to the downside. And this is the telling bar for me, the 4-hour bar. Now we've got news out in an hour, so I wouldn't want to trade this before the news is released. Not sure when these bars. What's that? 4-8. So yeah, so this is good because in an hour we have news out of the UK. After that, the half an hour after that, so in an hour and a half, if this 4-hour bar is looking like this, that would be a decent bar to try and enter, and you know, simply putting a sell stop underneath it would be a decent entry. Now you're going to get 1-to-1 if you use that weekly area as a take profit area, which is fine, you know, because it might keep running, which is what you're going to want. Now, obviously, the other way to play it would be to try and enter on a shorter term time frame with stops a bit tighter. But this is looking good. Look at this, even on the hourly. If this hourly ends up down here and creating some sort of engulfing bar, that's... hold on a minute, what have I got here? Hold on. I've got some sort of virus announcement from my antivirus software. Yeah, let's see what happens with it. But yeah, let's have a look at this bar. You know, you definitely want to wait a little while on this one, Jose. So if you can wait just a little while for this bar to close and then another half an hour just for that data to come out, I think you'll be in really good shape. And I also think that that would help you get under the daily pivot as well. So it looks to me like a really good trade, mate. I like that a lot. You got any thoughts on that one, Jeff?
Yeah,
Oh, you're
I'd be long.
shorting already.
But
You're shorting already.
That's
Okay.
not analysis. That is simply a setup. So I'd be long above the current bar. You're on an hourly chart.
Yeah.
Not saying it would happen, but that would be my preferred option from this point.
Yeah.
But that's not analysis. When I look at that chart, I agree with you. It looks bearish.
Yeah.
But that said, when I see a scenario like that, I've got a trend line coming through pretty much the last 3 bars.
Let me give you the screen, mate.
And that is telling me that the price is still above that trend line. I don't know if you put that trend line in, mate. It goes from
this one here.
Just now come down to the swing, next one down. There. Yep. Through there.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. I get that too.
Until that breaks.
Yeah.
Or re-breaks, I'm still on the bull side. As soon as it does, however, and gets retested, then I'm more than happy to go short.
Yeah. So we have slightly different perspectives on that. I mean,
bull's territory.
I'll tell you one thing that I would say that
and if you're talking to me, Ash, once again, I've lost sound. Unbelievable.
Oh, no. Okay. Okay, Jeff is struggling today. We might have to call it a day, guys, because Jeff's really struggling. And stops to entry, great stuff. So he shorted at 1.711. Let me just double check that. Oh man, this is great. 1.711 gives you there. Great stuff. Really good. I mean, it could still pop up there, but if it was to pop up there, then and be a downtrend, ultimately you could pop up there and still be in a downtrend. But I like it. But you know what I would advise is holding as long as you possibly can through the data point, because the data point could actually help you right out. But I would definitely look to take profit at the weekly area. Not full, but I would take a bit off the table at that particular point, and then see if you can just really enjoy the run to the downside, because that looks like a really good trade to me. Well done, mate. That's a really good one. Are you there, Jeff? Okay. Jeff can't hear me, so I probably now everybody knows what I'm doing. I'm waiting for the FTSE to come back.
Can you still hear me, Ash?
I can hear you, mate. Yeah, but you can't hear me, so maybe. I'll tell you what, I'll give Jeff the screen for a while.
Yeah, I'm hearing you 10 seconds later on YouTube, so yeah, that doesn't work.
I'll tell you what, I'll give Jeff the screen.
Okay, yeah, if you give me the screen, I'll just go through my pairs, and then we will hand it back to you. I think I'll say goodbye or something like that. Righto. Have we been triggered yet? No. So haven't been triggered short on the pound nor long on the pound. And those of you tuning in for this for the first time, if we do get triggered short, we cancel the long. If we get triggered long, we cancel the short. And as soon as we get triggered, we trail on to 15-minute bars. So in other words, if we go short, you then wait for 2 selling bars in a row and trail your stops to there and continue on and on and on, as we did yesterday, and made a little bit of money, not too much, but we did make a little bit of money. Righto. Look, these are really easy to analyze today. I've got dollar yen. I'll go to the daily chart, and really for me, this is the only way I can work in this particular environment. I've got to go to big picture, and big picture is going to tell me whether it's A, tradable, or B, where I can look to trade it. I've got to take into consideration that we've got massive moves afoot, and the momentum and the trend is pretty clearly established, in my humble opinion. This is a very, very difficult one, however. Why? Because we are now at a support level which is substantial. If you look over here, that's telling me quite a lot, but there's also a little bit of support coming through here as well. I said yesterday on this one, this is dollar yen, mind you, I said yesterday if we get a nice retrace, I still don't think I'd be able to go short here until we got some price action that really does just hang around, or in time comes back to a substantial level. That's the only way I could really trade this, and that substantial level is probably in this vicinity, round about the 109s at the very, very least, and maybe further than that, up to here somewhere. So it really is off my radar. It's a situation I call NLNS, and that means no long, no short. So my analysis is pretty clear on that. I have to wait. If I could trade a reversal of the momentum, I would hesitate to do that even, because such is the strong momentum behind this one. I think I don't want to trade it at the moment at all, as I said, until we get those particular scenarios. Now the pound, my analysis on the pound is a little bit mixed. And yesterday we were looking at this very closely. And similar to what I've just described on pound CAD, we're still above this trend line. We looked, well, did we get a close yesterday below? I think we might have. Yeah, we did. Okay. So that makes a difference. So one of two things here. I'd want to see a bullish bar come back and retest the trend line and the weekly pivot. That would give me the indication that a retest has been completed, and we could then look to short the market. Would I go short here? No. But what I would look to do is, if we do get this retest, I'd look to go short off a resistance area. So I'm talking a fair while before we get the confluence of either monthly pivot, weekly pivots shoveled in here and priced to that level. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon on this one, either pound US dollar. Of course, the breakout trade will keep us covered on that. Now, the one that I am particularly interested in is the Australian dollar, not necessarily against the US dollar, but I'll analyze it against the US dollar. And if you want to know what I think about the rest of them, then you have to go and get into our Telegram group and find out how to get into Ash and my own analysis. Mine, I only do analysis on the majors in this show, and the minors outside of that. So you can get a fair picture of what I'm thinking, though, by Aussie US dollar. It's really not about the US dollar, it's about the Aussie at the moment. And that moment is full of bad news for the Aussie, and nothing's changed. You know, really, we've got worse, if anything, as the 2 days of the week are starting to unfold. Yesterday, we had company operating profits dismal at minus 3.5%. We had that bad cakes and manufacturing PMI out of China. That affects the Aussie dollar. We had building approvals this morning at an incredibly poor number, minus 15.3% versus a forecast of 1.1% and a previous of 3.9%. The current account deficit was actually not too bad. I don't know why they printed that in red. Oh, it's come down, that's why. Okay, got it. In fact, it's come down dramatically. So that, again, not a good number. But the headline act, of course, for the Aussie was the cash rate announced only about 5 hours ago. And as everyone predicted, that was a rate cut to 0.5% from 0.75 of 1%. The RBA statement that accompanied that was, if it was in any other environment than this, you'd have to say it was extremely dovish, because the RBA governor suggested, not even suggested, he said outright that the RBA was willing to support the economy further by more monetary stimulus. If that's not a hint that he's going to cut rates again and in not too distant future, then I'm not here. That said, we saw the Aussie rally. Now, I said this was all about the Aussie and not about the dollar. But I would suggest that the dollar now comes into play because the Fed are talking, well, is it the Fed or is it Donald Trump talking about only a 0.5 interest rate cut would be anywhere near the mark. So they're starting to talk serious in the US. And I think that's probably why you're seeing a weak US dollar and giving the Aussie a chance to even rally. I think this is fantastic news for me if this does continue to rally, because it's going to give us another selling opportunity into the abyss that I feel the Aussie will fall into. 65 cents. Yeah, look, designated around about the fair value mark over a very long period of time for the Aussie. And I guess that's why it does have some support here as well as what I've just said. So don't be surprised if we hang around here for a while as well, maybe even rally a bit back to these previous breakout levels in this vicinity around about the 66.70 mark, maybe even a bit higher, around about the 66.80 mark, let's call it there. So you may see a rally back to that level, despite all the bad news that continues to come for the Aussie. And until the, in my opinion, until the coronavirus goes away, I can't see the Aussie rallying any substantial amount. So my analysis on the Aussie has not changed one iota. And I think anything that rallies up to here is going to be a great selling opportunity. We may even be looking to sell before that happens, but it's a tough one. I'll be looking at the miners, as I said, in particular against the Swissy and the yen for good entry signals short on that on the Aussie. US dollar CAD. Yeah, look, interesting. US dollar CAD, in that we've come down to this former breakout level, and that was a pretty prolonged attack, if you like, that failed on many occasions to get through this 133.30 area. As you can see, bang, 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 bang. We hit our head on that many, many times before we broke through it. Lasted a day, let's say a day and a half. And then we got back straight underneath here. This is an interesting bar that we're looking at now on the daily chart, and I'll be having a good look at this tomorrow. It smells of false break to me of this level. And if I see a bar like that tomorrow on the daily chart, I think you'll find that I'll put an entry below it. Stop loss is interesting at the moment because the market is so volatile. I would suggest that I'll probably be looking well above the swing here. So it's going to be a fair risk that I'm taking into the market, about 100 and you probably want to get up to here somewhere, about the 130, probably even want to go to 135 nearly. So the risk is going to be substantial, around about 180 pips. But the reason I'll be willing to take it is the reward is well beyond that. And if this actually does go right down to the bottom of that range, you're probably looking at a 2-to-1 area, which is okay. So I will have a good look at that in the morning. Dollar CAD as a short. This does smell of a false break to me, a very substantial one at that. In terms of now, would I be looking to trade it? Probably not. You can see the mess that it's going into. It's into consolidation, and that makes it just a little bit tough. If I was to look to trade this, I'd want to see an equal high up here and then establish a range and then look to trade it from top to bottom. But, you know, it doesn't look that way at the moment to me. US dollar Swissy, kind of spitting chips over this one because I wanted to get back into it. I was in it for quite some time and decided to close the trade and missed out on probably 2/3 of what has been available to this point. For that reason, I'd be very happy if price would come back to where I got out and then give me another opportunity to get in short it's asking the market to do a lot, to be fair. And if we are talking relief rallies or minor corrections, things of that nature, then that's probably not going to happen. However, if I look at this technical picture, I've got a couple of pivots here screaming at price to come back. So if that were to be the case, it's that kind of area that I'd be looking to short this one as well, dollar Swissy short. Whether the dollar can rally against the Swissy is another story, although, and I hope I'm not speaking out of school here, but I did hear a little whisper that the SNB were not happy with the Swissy at these levels. So intervention, question mark, could well be on the cards. That makes this a dangerous scenario. So I would like to see this rally. And even if on the back of intervention tends to last for the shortest period of time in most cases. So what I would like to see is really get this back to here, or even back to the highs, and I'd be happy with that as well. I would be looking to short dollar Swissy again. Finally, the Kiwi. The Kiwi is, as you can see, back inside this range that's been hanging around for some time. I call it a range. It's actually a descending channel. We're bang on the pivots here, and we're having a bit of a picnic at the pivots. I would expect this to go longer, and I'd be looking at these levels up here. Why is a good question. And I guess the rumors of the 50 basis points of interest rate cuts on the US dollar could well be the reason that may happen. So I am a little bit of a bull. I'm not saying I'm committed to it, but I am a little bit of a bull. If I do see a way into this and trade it up to this level around about 163.20 mark, something like that, I think that's probably a reasonable scenario. So on today, this is probably the only currency pair that I'm willing to trade on small time frames. How will I do that? Well, it's pretty simple. The equation is very simple for me. I like to trade long off support, and if I were to get a break of this level, price was to come back above it and retest it, that would be my signal to go long. So I'm actually looking for price to break down here, maybe even test the daily pivot. That would be the best case scenario. So a little bit of a sell-off, then shoot back above the weekly pivot, retest it, and away we go up to that level that you can see on the bigger time frames. There is a bit of a hint of an ascending triangle forming here, and that won't harm the prospects of this breaking out to the high side at all either. We do have in place a double bottom and a higher low, so maybe that would have been the best place to get in, but I still think there'll be an opportunity if we equal that low and shoot off from there. That would be exactly what I'm looking at. Did I actually go through euro dollar? I don't think I did. I'm a bear euro dollar today. And that is the reason why I'm a bear, because we have hit the top of this channel, which has been a very, very reliable source of support and resistance for this pair. So we've come down, we've come down, we've come down, we've come down. I think I said probably 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, that this looked like a bounce point. And I said the bounce should go to here. Yeah, well, it did, but then it just shot through and kept going. The very good part about this is I've caught most of all of that because I did stay in the move and didn't get out here. You can see my stops are now well above entry, which was down here, and we're trailing this one. I expect to be taken out of this today. If I'm wrong, then happy days. We just continue to bank more money. But I wouldn't be suspecting that we'll go anywhere but short from here. That would definitely be my analysis. We've already come below the daily pivot. That's cool. I'd now like to see price get back and retest it. I did say before that the Kiwi was the only one I wanted to trade today. This may well be the second that I would be willing to trade today. If this becomes a low, I'll be looking to put something in place there, and as a break and retest of the confluence area, I would be happy to then trade that short. And there's obvious targets down here, TP1 here. Take probably everything off the table there, because I'm actually not a massive bear, but I do see on an intraday basis this is quite possible that price will come down to here, and if I can get on board that as maybe a break and retest, or as a false break off resistance, perhaps it may well be one and the same thing. So up, consolidate, back underneath, retest, away we go. Daily pivot is at the key level, and this confluence area is definitely the key level for Euro US dollar today. And I am an intraday bear, Ash, and that just about wraps me up. And I do apologize for the technical difficulties, which are testing me probably more than they are you.
Obviously, you can't hear me, mate, but I know you've got me on. I know you got him in YouTube, so at least you can hear that a little bit. I tell you what, let's do it this way. I will take the screen and I will wrap us up, and then I will say a goodbye, and then and we'll be done for today, and we'll try again tomorrow. There may well be an opportunity coming on the FTSE, so if you could give me the screen, that would be fantastic. And I will, in fact, I might be able to take the screen. No, I have to wait for the screen from you. Yeah, if you give me a, if you could give me the screen, then I will just have a look through this trade, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. I seem to have a problem with, okay, great. Thank you, buddy. Right then, so we do have the FTSE 100 now just rejecting that weekly pivot. This is a good thing. Now, the first point of call is only 20 pips away, so I don't really want that one, but I will take it if I have to. What I really want is at least another 40 pips below. What I'm really looking at is the trend line, which is running along there. There is also a trend line breakout there, but stocks are so strong. The equities are so strong this morning, off the back of the news and an anticipation of central bank intervention, that it's going to be probably wise just to kind of see if there's an opportunity to get in. We got around 5 minutes left of the hourly bar before the hourly bar closes. We do also have some data from the UK. Now, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes there is. Now, I'll just quickly bring that up so we can have a look through the news for the day. But oftentimes there's opportunities off the back of anticipation of this of these numbers. So we got monetary policy report hearings. I'm not sure how important that will be, but it might be massive. I can't really get a read on that, because I don't know whether the central bank meeting trumps it or not. Construction PMIs as well will give us a view of the health of the economy going forward, and that may well, that will probably affect the pound. So people will potentially just be taken a little bit off the table on the equities before this number. So what I'm probably going to try and do, if I can, is use that number, use that release to get me in, and see if the market can ease back into that number and then try and take the trade. So I am looking to go long. It's difficult to know where I can go long, because prices or points are fairly shallow now. But I'd much prefer it to be a little bit lower. It's very unlikely that we get either a long down there or a long down there. Could happen, but it's unlikely. That would be where stops would sit. You can go in at a full 1% if you have a wide stop. If you don't have a wide stop and you want to go shallow, then cut your risk right back to around about 1/3 of 1%, and then look to add as you go. Because if this market is to go higher, it's got some technical areas to get through. There's no two ways about that, but it is pretty strong this morning. And again, we'll just have a quick look across the board. S&P just trapped a little bit, but that could promote some further upside during the US session. Dow Jones Industrials exactly the same, trapped a little bit. The Nasdaq is just above the monthly pivot currently, with an hourly bar only 2.5 minutes away from closing. So that would suggest that might have some further upside as well. So definitely looking at the long. We are just looking to see the best price to get in at, and back to this one again. We're approaching the first possible price now, but it might be that we get the opportunity to wait for that data from the UK and then trade it to the upside. So that is pretty much it, guys. I don't think we're going to get a really clean, obvious entry opportunity. So it is a long, maybe a long down here, or maybe along there. But my first point of call is still around about 20 pips away from where we are now. So a 20 pip dip is gonna start me taking those longs in the market. And that will be me. So I will say farewell from both Jeff and I, because Jeff is having some technical issues, and then we will be back tomorrow, same trade time, same trade channel at 5 to 8. That's a date. Don't be late. Have a good one, guys. I'll be posting in the broadcast group as well, so for any further ideas and maybe ways that we can manage this trade if we get in. Otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow. And to quote a king of sorry, I got a bit distracted there. To quote a king of the trading and radio airwaves, bye bye for now.